Hello, it's Lynn Watts here from Wyatt the Wonder Dog. And today I'm going to talk about 5 steps that you could use with students to change negative feelings. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you to please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you will continue getting notifications every time that I create a new video, such as this one. All right, so let's just begin by stating that part of the premise here is that emotions are actually caused by our thoughts. So, what we think about then creates an emotion, and then it gets to be kind of a vicious cycle in terms of that. Emotion affects our thoughts and continues negative thoughts and so on. So, what we want to do is create a plan that interrupts that whole process. So here's step number one, and that is to become an observer. And so this is a very common sort of practice that I think we use in counseling, and that is to advise the person that we're working with to kind of step back from the situation and be not only an observer, but an objective observer. So let's say that a student is feeling very anxious. And the first question might be, all right, so let's think about what happened. What happened that you started feeling anxious? Well, perhaps it's that the teacher announced there's going to be a test on Friday. All right. And then after she announced that, then what did you begin to think about? Well, I started thinking, I don't understand the material. What am I going to do? I always fail tests. I always do badly on tests. You get the idea. So we're talking about is the self-talk that comes from that situation. And then help the student understand that the next step, of course, is once you begin telling yourself those things, how do you feel? Oh, right. That's when I started feeling anxious and worried. All right. So, step number one in changing negative feelings is to become an observer. Step number two is then to coach the student on challenging their thoughts. All right. So, if what I'm thinking is I always fail on tests, how could you challenge that? Well, do you really always fail on tests? No, there have been some tests that I actually did really well on. Right? So we need to think about that. Or um, maybe it's true that you don't understand a lot of the material, but do you understand some of the material? Yeah. So it's not that you don't understand anything. Or maybe it's that you don't understand the material yet. And we have to put that extra word in there. So I want to challenge that thinking. It's usually all or nothing, absolute kind of thinking. So we want to challenge that and be more realistic about the possibilities. So that's step number two, challenge your thoughts. Number three is then create a plan based on how you've challenged your thoughts and what you've come up with. So you don't want to just change your thoughts. You want to have a plan for what you're going to do based on that challenge. So if the challenge is that, well, I understand a lot of the material, but I don't understand all of it yet. What are you going to do about that? Maybe you're going to study an extra 30 minutes. Maybe you're going to set up a tutoring session with a teacher. Maybe you're going to ask some questions. Maybe you're going to get some help from a sibling who does understand it. There's lots of possibilities. All right. So create a plan for what to do with that information that you've come up with is step number three. Step number four is then to be vigilant and stay in control of the thinking, not let it come back around so that it grabs you again. And it's hard to get back into that way of thinking when you have created an active plan. So if you're busy with studying or you're busy with, reading the material or getting a tutoring session or that sort of thing, then those thoughts aren't going to be dominating that time frame. And when they do pop up again, you can say, yeah, but I'm working on it. All right. So being vigilant, staying in control of thoughts and actions is important. And then the final step is to be patient and give it time. It takes uh, uh, effort to make this sort of thought process, this plan, a habit. So the next time a test is announced, probably student might feel anxious again, but hopefully not as anxious because now they see how it works and they know what to do. So you want to continue being vigilant, giving it time to overcome those kind of negative feelings and thoughts. All right. I hope that's helpful to you, and thanks so much for listening.